So what exactly are the challenges or factors that are hindering women from joining this revolution, quote unquote, of course?
Well, people talk about the costs, but really, I think if our priorities are set right, and the cost it's not as expensive as it used to be to get these devices or get on the internet or to get data and all that. Then again, I think we just think of it's just something else. You know, it's one of these things you're adding on to what the load I already have. I'm a mother, I'm a career person, we are bringing something new to the table. So I think basically, I think the main point here, I would say, is the perception we have towards this use of technology.
Like Kemi pointed out, it takes a lot to get women using and engaging with technology. But then once you actually have women who are working in technology, there are a lot of different issues. There's research that's done in the US, the UK, in some Western countries that shows that within 10 years of starting a technology career, a lot of women drop out. And this is for so many reasons. One may be the working environment. I mean, of course, it's a male-dominated environment. And I guess in our own culture, you know, if a woman works in a male-dominated environment, there's all the baggage that comes with it, especially in terms of family, you know, who make comments about it like, you know, that place that you are working, or especially if they're young single ladies, you know, they may get comments about, you know, will your husband be happy with you working in, you know, such an environment? I mean, it may seem, you know, very trite, but to a lot of young women who are trying to, you know, do the right thing, you know, in quotes, you know, that's, you know, go to school, start working and get married, you know, comments like that, you know, can have an impact.
So is there any of the tech enthusiasts in your center that has come up with a solution to any social problem?
One of the girls we worked with, you know, earlier this year came up with a mobile application to report rape and sexual assault cases, because that was something that was prevalent in their communities, and they knew a lot of girls and young women who had been sexually assaulted. So I think, you know, when you come from an angle of, you know, what is important, you know, to a woman or to a girl, it's easier, you know, to get them engaged in actually thinking about how technology can be a solution to that problem, and then how they can also play a role in creating the technology that can solve that problem.
All right, so just in rounding up now, what role do you think women can play in the tech future of Nigeria and Africa at large?
I think women have a role to play in technology in Nigeria. And really, I think one key point I got from the Tech Women Africa Summit in Ghana last week was that there is, no matter how much we try to, you know, push for women and girls in technology, we need to have policy. We need to have policy direction. You know, we got feedback updates from the work that the Liberia government is doing to get girls involved in technology, and we realized that really, we don't think that the Nigerian government is doing anything. So there might be a framework. We need to set policy frameworks to say, you know, by the year 2020. I don't mean literally, you know, we're used to setting dates to say, you know, by the year 2020, Nigeria should have, you know, there should be about 500 more girls or 1 million girls, you know, who can code, another 1,000 girls who can create content, another girl, you know, who know about. So we should have policy framework, you know, and then get involved legislations to say every girl child must actually learn a technological skill or a technology skill, so that, you know, we won't have in the next 5 or 10 years or 20 years, we won't have, you know, a deficit. We have maybe like 10 million boys who can code, and then we don't have women who can code. There are skills that, like Ore said, there are digital jobs that women can do. But if there are legislations, if there are legal frameworks to these things, if there are policies in place to say, you know what, by the end of 2015, we want to have, you know, gotten about 10 million girls to learn 1,000 technology skills. So we need our legislators to be involved. We need So we just don't want to do, we need organizations who work around girls in ICT to come together and, you know, be involved to create policies that will create enabling environments for it to be easy for women and girls to, you know, to thrive in technology.
All right, thank you very much. That will be all. Thanks for coming on the program again and sharing your thoughts. We'll take a quick break and we'll be joined by another expert for more analysis. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, still continuing on our focus on women in technology, we're now being joined by Temitope Ogundipe. She is the Chief Operating Officer of Paradigm Initiative Nigeria, that's PIN. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you, Victor.
All right, so let's just start this conversation from where we left off on the Hangout now. Looking at a framework, maybe a legal or policy framework that would ensure more women come online in Nigeria and in Africa. Do we have any?
Okay, so Nigeria actually had a national framework that was developed during the last administration, the National Broadband Plan. And the main goal is to increase broadband penetration in Nigeria. But the beautiful thing about that policy was that it was also very gender friendly because it recognized that there were certain populations that were lagging behind when it comes to broadband adoption and utilization and would not adopt except there's some sort of facilitation or training. And according to that plan, the Federal Ministry of Communications Technology at that time was specifically responsible for monitoring the number of women that were connected to the internet or web-enabled technologies. And, you know, there were also incentives for working with private institutions and CSOs to provide digital literacy for women and girls, especially in urban poor or rural populations. And even there was also a proposal to use centers in local governments as safe access points, you know, for women and girls, just to
get them online.
Get them online, yeah, to overcome the barriers that they face when it comes to accessing technologies, yeah. So it was, and the Minister of ICTs at that time actually won an award in 2014. It's called the GemTech Award for policies and plans that are aimed at empowering women and girls. So we used to have that, yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is, right now, with the current administration, so the bane of beautiful policies like this is usually that when administrations change and parties change and there could be other priorities. Right now, the Ministry of Communications Technology is now under the Ministry of Communications, and we're not hearing very much about the National Broadband Plan anymore, and really don't know where what priorities are right now with regards to getting women online, yeah.
Okay, so but let's even look at statistics. What's the ratio at the moment, men to women online?
So in 2015, we actually completed a country report that is on our website right now, www.pinigeria.org/research reports. So if you go to pinigeria.org reports and then research reports, you see a report titled Country Report on Women's Rights Online. And we actually surveyed over 1,000 households in Lagos, Nigeria. And we also had focus groups at different times talking to different categories of women. And it was very interesting because we found that on that survey, only 36% of women on that survey had accessed the internet within 6 months of that survey. So when we said, when we asked the question about accessing the internet, it wasn't like, are you online right now or something? It was, have you accessed the internet in the last 6 months? Even Facebook or WhatsApp. And only 36% of women living in Lagos
have done that.
66% of men on the survey had. So we can actually say that access is limited to a small group of urban elite, really. Yeah, it's a big issue. About 18% of women on that survey said the reason why they were not using ICTs was because they did not know how to use it. So literacy, information literacy was a big issue. And over 60% said it was because they could not afford.
Yeah. All right, just hold your thought for a second. We'll take a quick break. I'll be back shortly. We'll take a quick break. I'll be back shortly. Join us again.